fateful morning of October 13th, 2011, at approximately 4:40 a.m., the Keller Police Department received a frantic 911 call. The voice on the other end was Michelle Williams, who sounded distressed and claimed that a burglar had broken into their home and shot her husband, Greg Williams.
911, where is the emergency? Take a deep breath.
When the police arrived at the scene, they found a perplexing situation that defied easy explanation. Greg Williams was lying motionless in his bed, his lifeless eyes staring at the ceiling. A single gunshot wound to his head had ended his life, and the room was in disarray, with the bedsheets tangled and a lamp knocked over, as if a struggle had taken place. Michelle had a bruise on her cheek, a purplish mark that she had claimed was the result of being knocked out by an intruder wielding a wrench. According to her, the intruder had then proceeded to shoot Greg and then escaped. The police noted that the bruise seemed oddly uniform, almost as if it could have been self-inflicted. The police found the murder weapon and a wrench near the house's back door. Even more puzzling was the fact that nothing else in the house had appeared to be disturbed or stolen. The drawers were closed, the windows intact, and no valuables were missing. There were no signs of forced entry, making it hard to believe an intruder had been there. The couple's daughter was found fast asleep on the couch, her peaceful slumber seemingly undisturbed by the supposed theft or gunshot that had taken her father's life. Moreover, the police found Michelle's behavior as odd, as she did not appear as someone who had just survived a burglary. The police were immediately struck by the inconsistencies. For a supposed burglary, the scene was oddly selective. Why would an intruder leave behind the murder weapon and a valuable wedding ring, which Michelle claimed that the intruder had tried to steal but dropped it in his haste? The crime scene raised more questions than answers, setting the stage for an investigation that would prove to be anything but straightforward. The investigation into the murder of Greg Williams was a roller coaster of changing narratives and unexpected twists, primarily fueled by Michelle Williams herself. Initially, Michelle told investigators that an intruder had broken into their home and killed her husband. She even sported a bruise on her cheek, claiming it was proof that she had been knocked out by the intruder with a wrench. However, as investigators delved deeper, they found no evidence to corroborate her story of a home invasion gone wrong. When investigators confronted her, Michelle then changed her story, stating that Greg had actually committed suicide. Michelle claimed that she had altered the crime scene to protect their daughter from the harsh reality of her father's suicide. She said she wiped the house clean of any evidence, which raised even more questions. For instance, if Greg had committed suicide, how did Michelle explain the bruise on her face? Michelle later revealed that she had self-inflicted the bruise using the wrench, stating,
"In order to make some sense, I had to have an injury, and I just bent myself, and I bent myself too hard."
What's that, wrench?
It's a wrench.
Murder weapon, a gun, was found near the back door of the house, along with a wrench that bore no fingerprints. Michelle had initially claimed that this wrench was used by the intruder to hit her, but now, its presence at the scene became another puzzling element in her ever-changing stories. The police were now dealing with a suspect whose stories were inconsistent and unreliable. Remarkably, Michelle's life took a series of bizarre turns after Greg's death that left many puzzled. She hastily sold off Greg's businesses, which were valued at a much higher price, for a fraction of their worth. This raised suspicions about her motives, as it seemed like an odd move for a grieving widow. But Michelle didn't stop there. She took her children on a lavish vacation, a decision that seemed incongruent with the recent tragedy. Nearly 3 months after her husband's death, Michelle was arrested for the murder of Greg Williams after the medical examiner's report ruled his death a homicide, saying it was impossible for him to fire the gun and kill himself.
Does it make any sense to you at all that somebody would lay back in their bed and hold this gun 11 inches away from their own head and fire into their head?
A week after her arrest, Michelle gets out of jail on bond. While Michelle was under house arrest and wearing an ankle monitor, astonishingly, she managed to remove the monitor and started working in a strip joint, further complicating her public image in the ongoing investigation. Even more shocking was her new romantic involvement with her son's best friend, a relationship that raised eyebrows and questions about her emotional state. As the case continued to unfold, Michelle made another shocking move. She accepted a plea deal, one that was offered due to the lack of evidence prosecutors say was destroyed by Michelle. Michelle agreed to plead guilty to a charge of deadly conduct and tampering with evidence that would allow her to spend no more than 18 years in prison. However, an unexpected twist kept Michelle out of jail. Michelle claimed to be pregnant with twins. The judge agreed to delay the sentencing on Michelle's plea bargain until the babies were born, but it was all a lie. The judge revoked the bond, and she was subsequently returned to jail. Astonishingly, Michelle changed her story yet again, reverting to her initial claim that an intruder had killed her husband. This flip-flopping severely undermined her credibility and complicated the investigation. She complicated her own case by appearing on CBS 48 Hours to share her exclusive story. Following the airing of the episode, the judge revoked the plea deal and reinstated the murder charge and ordered her to remain in jail. Michelle's twisted web of deceit extended to her own family. Her son, Andrew O'Brien, would later testify in court against her that his mother had asked him to frame another woman for Greg's murder. The target was none other than Kathy Williams, Greg's first wife. Michelle's attempt to use her son in this devious plot not only shocked the courtroom, but reminded one of the lengths she would go to avoid facing the consequences of her actions. The investigation also brought light to Michelle's past, including her first two marriages, filled with drama and turmoil. Her sons from these relationships provided valuable insights into her character, painting a picture of a manipulative and deceitful woman. In a chilling twist, Michelle's sister-in-law came forward with a harrowing suspicion. She believed that Michelle might have been involved in the death of her own husband, who was also Greg's best friend. The sister-in-law suspected that Michelle orchestrated this to silence him, fearing he might expose her dark secrets. The case was a labyrinth of lies, deceit, and manipulation, with Michelle at its center. Each twist and turn brought new challenges for the investigators, who had to sift through a mountain of conflicting stories and motives. Despite these obstacles, they remained committed to solving this intricate puzzle and bringing justice to Greg Williams. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered unsettling details about Michelle's control over Greg's finances. Known for her extravagant spending habits, Michelle had even submitted false financial records to a bank, leading to the couple's inability to secure a home loan. This raised eyebrows among investigators, as it hinted at a potential financial motive behind the murder. Moreover, the life insurance policy on Greg became another focal point of the investigation. Michelle stood to gain a $300,000 payout from his life insurance policy, casting further suspicion on her. Was this a meticulously planned murder for financial gain? The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit together, and the picture they revealed was one of calculated deceit and greed. This investigation was not just a quest for the truth, it was a deep dive into the psyche of a master manipulator. Michelle's ever-changing narratives and bizarre behavior made this one of the most perplexing and challenging cases investigators had ever faced. In September 2014, Michelle Williams was tried by a jury for the murder of her husband, Greg Williams. Michelle did not take the stand to explain her many changing stories. Michelle was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 60 years in prison. She will be eligible for parole in 30 years at the age of 74.